Okay, so these are some beautiful questions, Griff. Sorry, it's going kind of more. I'm not morbid, but deep. Okay, someone says to you, "I have cancer." A dear friend that you love. By the way, my mammogram came back and I have cancer. What do you say today, knowing what you know, being a human being, to someone you love?
Griffin's first comeback question was, good for you.
Right. Yeah.
He goes, okay, now with joking aside,
Right.
when somebody shares with you they newly have cancer, he says, my first words back with them would be, honestly, again, somehow repeat exactly what they said to you.
Okay.
Like, take a deep breath and say, so you're telling me that you have cancer?
Right.
Just repeat it, because most of the time they don't get to hear it back. They
Right.
get the shock and the awe and the I'm so sorry, I'm so sad, this is terrible, this is frightening. Hell
Right.
no. Keep the emotions out of it. Take a
Okay.
nice deep breath and just look back at them and say, you're telling me you have cancer? And they say,
Okay.
yes. And Griffin goes, stop right there and say, what kind and when did you find out?
Okay.
Take an inquisitive approach first.
Okay.
So now you have the information of what kind and when they find out, and then say, how are you feeling about this?
Wow. Right.
And if the person no longer wants to talk to you, because maybe they were trying to manipulate the situation, because maybe there was tension in the relationship to begin with, and
Right.
Griffin says the person was like, well, I have cancer, and they're kind of doing it to make you feel like shit, and you say
Right.
back to them when you get to the point, how does this make you feel? They're
Right.
like, what do you mean, how does this make me feel? Blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. And you did this and you did that. You know you're in a bad situation when the tables turn and all of a sudden it's your fault.
Right.
He says, when that happens, just shut the fuck up. Stay
And just
quiet,
listen. Okay.
listen, and
Okay.
just listen. And then respond with, well, when I just heard that you had cancer, I feel da 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 da. He goes, it will sound way too therapeutic. It will sound like you're supposed to be laying on a freaking couch and like expressing your innards or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But the hit back to that one when you say, when I heard you had cancer, I feel remorse that I wasn't more honest with you. I
Right.
am scared for your well being.
Right.
I have newfound regrets. There were all these things that I wanted to do with you and for you, and
Right.
I'm seeing that I fell short in the way I could express my love to you.
Right.
He says, share what you, once you get that fucking shit out of the way,
Right.
whether this person is going to live or die, immediately when people hear the word cancer, you think, oh, we're about to bury them.
Right.
They're not going to make it because that's what marketing has told us.
Right.
It's hard and most cases end in blah, blah, blah,
Right.
death, death, death. And he says, when you get that off your chest, then the next time they come and talk to you, you don't have to sit and go, oh, how do I tell them? And how do I say I'm really worried about them? And how do I say I want to help? And well, you did that. And the first moment they gave you the information. So now you can move forward and build on it. But if you
Right.
hold your tongue and then you don't come out with it until the third, fourth, sixth week into it,
Uh-huh.
you sound a little crazy.
Right.
Make sure you
Right.
stay in the moment. Check in with yourself.
I agree with you too, because when you do hear that word, you want to go statistically Google what they told you.
Yes.
Right.
Griffin says, technically, rule of thumb, whenever you hear big, big news,
Uh-huh.
joyful, sad, happy, whatever, whenever you hear the really, really big news, guess what? It's not about you.
Right.
It's not about you. So repeat what you heard, sit and listen,
Right.
ask how they're doing with it.
Right.
And then when that's all done, then you can share how you're listening to it, how you want to react to it. But if
Right.
you react first, that's called stealing somebody's glory.
Right.
And it's called deflection. And
Right.
in some cases, we'll call it defensive.
Right. Okay. Okay, I agree.
Wow,
Okay,
nicely
thank
put.
you. That's deep. Okay, if you were here knowing what you know now just for the day, and you had to be here for a month, and you had to pick a belief system or religion to follow while you were here for a month, which one would you choose, Griff? You had to. You just couldn't be a free spirit. You had to choose a belief system or a religion to follow. Which one?
All right. That is a phenomenal question.
Thank
He
you.
says, I'm going to go with Buddhism.
Thank you. Okay. So are you the one having them chase me out of the Grab a Green Health Place with an introduction to Buddhism pamphlets to come to their meeting? Is that you, Griff? No, I'm dead serious. This
He said yes.
happened a week or two ago. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I agree, and I'm going to try it. My mom wanted to try Tibetan Buddhism before she passed away. She was looking into it after being Catholic. Okay. I'm Griffin, if you're here today knowing what you know now and your dear friend says to you, I'm lost, how do I center myself? What's your answer?
He says, my first response would be, what are you lost from?
Okay.
There's so many different ways, Mom, in my opinion, that people can be lost.
Okay.
They can be lost in their career, but they're
Right.
fine with their home life. They could
Okay.
be lost in their marriage, but they
Okay.
know who they are and they know what their career is. Or they could be lost with, connecting to what life is and they feel suicidal. So
Okay.
I wouldn't assume in either direction of where they're looking for the support,
Okay.
and I would ask.
Okay.
So if it was
Beautiful.
about career, I
Yeah.
would ask them to, let's throw it down.
Okay.
What sucks about your career? And then
Okay.
what's great about your career? And then he goes, I love this question. If you're asked, if you have all the money in the world,
Right.
all the money in the world,
Right.
what career would you do? What kind of work would you do?
Wow.
And he goes, and that's what you need to aim for.
And that's your
Yeah.
passion in life, and that kind of leads into my next question if you're done.
Not done.
Okay.
This is not done.
Okay.
If they said that they were lost in their intimate relationship,
Okay.
their love, whether it's their marriage or relationship, he said, then I would ask them, well, what are you measuring it against? How do you define love?
Right.
And get to understand where they're coming from, because they might be holding completely unachievable goals. Like love
Okay.
is this, piece of fruit that nobody can get to or eat, and they think
Right.
they can do it.
Right.
If you were to leave this world,
Right.
what would it be like then if you were to leave this life?
Right.
Um, what else did you say, Griffin? And step back from the computer in case it's you. Thanks. Yep, he can't remember.
Okay.
He was just going. It was a good train.
Okay. I'm feeling and I love this person, but I haven't been feeling the love lately. How do I get back to feeling that love, or is my relationship done?
Because this is great.
Knowing what you know now, you're back for a month, but you come back without amnesia. What do you say to that person?
Griffin said, if somebody came to me and said, I once felt the love, but I don't feel it now, is my relationship over? He goes, no. In general, a rule of thumb, your relationship is not over. And I'm
Okay.
sorry, if you're in a relationship and you're the one calling it quits because you're
Yes.
not feeling right, you're the one who's sabotaging it.
Right.
So I would say if you have felt the love once before, you can
Mhm.
feel it again. Go back
Absolutely.
to the person. But
Uh,
first, identify, what are you missing out of the relationship?
right.
And what do you want to see in the relationship? And
Right.
show up with some genuine request, and show up being willing to hear what the other person needs from you.
Right.
If you cannot hear the awful, the negative, the great, if you can't hear the honesty from the other person,
Right.
then it says we got some problems on our hands.
Right. Right. Um, is love is a verb, so it's an action. So love is an action. So if you're not doing the actions, you can't really say that you don't love someone anymore. You have to look at yourself first and what's going on with yourself, right?
Correct.
I agree. Okay. Um, You're here today, Griffin, knowing what you know now. This goes for all these questions. I've lost my motivation. How do I stay motivated towards my goals?
If you've lost motivation towards your goals, maybe your goals aren't really the goals you need to be going for.
Okay.
He's a,
Okay.
it's interesting. As humans, we're fluid. We're not meant to look at one thing and focus on one thing and stay on one thing and hit that one thing, one thing all the time. He's got
Right.
his finger up.
Right.
We will kind of steer left and steer right. We'll lose focus. We'll discover something else, and that will enhance us to go back to the goal. But if we
Right.
find that we can't go back to the goal, then you got to ask yourself, was that really your concept and your idea to begin with? Most of the time, we're creating goals because they please somebody else, or it's what society says is the next step to do, is successful, and is the way to receive respect. And it's not.
Right. Right. Amen. Because Griffin, when I was young, I wanted to be an actress, and I came out here and did a few things, and I ended up marrying dad and having children. And sometimes I'd be like, wow, I gave up my whole life for you, but I didn't. My mom says we always end up doing what we want to do, period. Eventually.
Hmm.
Might take a while, but if you're not comfortable, you squirm where you are, you know, or
That's
you go
true.
back and get it later. Maybe I always wanted to be a mom, if I look back at it, but seeming like being an actor sounded fun and exciting because I hated school. So it was like, maybe I was a little lost, G. I don't know. But anyways, or I was experimenting. It was all good. It didn't hurt anything.
He also said you were young.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, I I find myself consumed with negative thoughts. How do I change my perspective? You're here today visiting as a spirit, but in a human body. What do you say?
Okay, here's the spoof answer first.
Okay.
Just get out of the system.
Okay.
He'd say, he'd say, bitch, let's depossess you and get those dead people off of you right now.
Okay.
He called it the dead snake, and I was like, I don't think that will make sense. He's like, dead people. Okay.
Okay.
I see a lot over here of entities feeding off those who are living because they're completely unaware.
Okay.
Humans were created to be wired in a positive and social way.
Okay.
When you come across a human who is wired negative, constantly thinks negative, and constantly wants to be alone, there's something else steering off course.
Okay.
So I would look at purifying their energy.
Okay. Amen. Like burn a little sage around that person.
Yes, and get into their belief systems. Why are they thinking the way that they are?
Uh-huh.
Where is it rooted?
Right. Right.
And flip it.
Okay.
And in this case, when you flip a belief system, there's two approaches. You fake it until you make it,
Right.
which means you fake it, you try it on, you try it on, you try it on until you have a real experience where you build a relationship with it and build trust.
Okay.
That's what fake it till you make it is. I love
Absolutely.
that.
I love it too.
That was great.
Because
The
yeah.
other way, go ahead.
No, I think I agree that you have to walk through some things that are uncomfortable. Sometimes you just have to force yourself. Period.
The other way is you just do it, no questions asked. He goes,
Okay.
so people have different personalities. Sometimes they'll say, oh, I hear that and I like it and it's
Right.
mine. I'm going to use it from here on out. Some people are like, I hear that, I understand it, but I don't know how it works. And that's where you try it on, try it on,
Right.
try it on, try it on until you have an experience with it until it really resonates and then you can carry it forward.
Right.
Also, when you do spirit removal and clean the energy off the person, you then have to look at the people that are around this person. What are their influences? Are they
Right.
constantly dragging you down? Because when you show up as a negative, we're
Right.
just going to call it like a negative wire,
Right.
then you're training everybody else to see you as a negative wire. And then when you
Right.
switch currents,
Right.
all the people that you trained are like, you're messed up. You're supposed to be negative,
Right.
and we're going to keep you negative. And they put you under their thumb and hold you there. in
Right.
place. So you have to step away not only from the spirits that are around you, but also the people that are around you and get a new start.
Right. Okay.
If you're alone and you don't have a spiritual community to help you, Griffin says, you sit down and you daydream and you ask yourself, what do I like to do?
Mhm.
What do I enjoy? What puts a smile on my face? Whether it's a music, a smell, an activity, a job, a hobby, and you put that in your life. And if you're very heady, after you put that in your life, you can do it by percentages and say, all right, 10% of my life, 10% of my daily activity is going to be related to this. And he goes, and I want you to work that slow percentage every week until you get close enough to 50%. By then, you'll feel the teeter-totter. Look, I have glue all over me. They're not bruises, it's glue.
Okay.
The teeter-totter will shift.
Mhm.
Teeter-totter.
Right. I used
Seesaw.
to seesaw. Same thing. I used to do it
It's
when I was
seesaw.
little, didn't you?
Yeah.
I was
Love
always
that
the
thing.
heavy chubby kid, so the other one would fly off. No, I'm just kidding.
That was me.
I like my food, girl. Okay.